Hi everyone, in this video I will explain the basics of geotechnical engineering or the foundation engineering subject. Okay, in this module 1 I will explain briefly about introduction. Then you can see here some say site investigation, or some say subsoil investigation, or some say subsurface investigations. All these three are synonymous. Okay, you can see site investigations are done for obtaining the information about the subsoil conditions at the proposed site condition. This site investigations are mainly done to find the what are the conditions below the surface of the earth at the proposed site condition. Generally, we require C5 values of the soil, at what depth the water table is there, and what are the properties of the water, and we can find by taking the samples, and we go for engineering test, lab test. We can find the engineering properties of the soil and index properties of the soil. Okay, the first thing in the soil investigation or subsoil investigations is we have to take the samples. We have to dig the boreholes. We have to dig the boreholes like this, and we have to take the samples. These samples to be taken to laboratory, and in laboratory we can find the engineering properties and the index properties of the soil. We can see here these site investigations or subsoil investigations are required for every big engineering project. For small projects, G+1, let us say buildings G+1 or G+2, G+3, we don't require this, especially the site investigations. For more than 5-story building, or the buildings are to be constructed in earthquake zone area, or the loose soils or the black soils, we require these site investigations. Then useful for determine the soil profile of the subsurface strata. This we require soil profile at what depth we got which type of soil, at what depth we have the water table, and all these things we'll get by going this site investigation. Determining the engineering properties of the soil as well as the index properties of the soil. Then as a part of site investigation, we can do the in situ soil tests also, like a shear vein test, cone penetration test, and pile load test. Okay, all these are in situ, means we don't do in the laboratory, we can do the test itself in the site. We can see here, after performing our soil investigations in both the site, the institute test or the engineering lab test, we have to prepare this soil investigation report. In the soil investigation report, we have two parts. One is the boring log, another one is the subsurface profile. In this boring log, we have the depth, we have the soil type, and we have the soil penetration value at particular depths of the subsurface, and this is the SBC of the soil, and this is the water content, and this is the liquid limit, and this is the plastic limit. Okay, according to our results, we have to make this boring log table. Then similarly, we have to prepare this subsurface profile. Okay, at what depth, at what type of soil is present. Okay, this is the final report of this soil subsurface investigation report, and also we can give some recommendations also why we have to perform this subsoil investigations. Okay, first one is in design of retaining walls and abutments. Okay, in the design of retaining walls and abutments, let us say this is a retaining wall. Okay, let us say this is the retaining wall. You can see in this picture we have this is, we can call it as a backfill. Okay, in order to design this retaining wall, first we require Okay, we require the active pressure. Means this active pressure is due to this backfill. What is this active pressure? Okay, how much amount of active pressure is acting on the retaining wall like this? Okay, like this we have to find that active pressure, and accordingly we have to design the thickness of this stem or thickness of the base slab and everything, and it depends upon this. But this PA active pressure is again depends upon the C5 of the soil. C5 of the soil, and we require unit weight of the soil, that is common. We require unit weight of the soil also. So in order to get this C5 and the unit weight of the soil and water table, at what depth the water table is at this depth or at this depth, all depends upon your soil investigation report. Okay, therefore soil investigation reports plays a very important role in the construction of dams, construction of retaining walls, construction of the footings and everything. Okay, then you can see here for the abutments also, this C5 values, the soil investigation reports are very important. Okay, then to find the depth of the footing, this is perhaps everybody knows how we can decide this depth of the footing. There are many formulas or many things, but generally we have this formula: minimum depth of the foundation, given by Rankins theory, that is SBC of the soil by unit weight of the soil into 1 minus sin phi by 1 plus sin phi whole square. So if you carefully observe, in order to find the SBC we require C5 values and C5 values, and also we require the water table and the unit weight of the soil. Obviously we require this unit weight of the soil. Okay, then coming to this coefficient of active pressure of the soil, we require Ka. It is 1 minus sin phi by 1 plus sin phi whole square. Okay, all these parameters, definitely we have to go for site investigations, okay, to find these parameters. Then we can decide what is the depth of this foundation. What is the depth of foundation? Okay, then to analyze the stability of slopes. Okay, you can see here, this is the picture. Due to some problem, this slopes failed. Okay, there are many problems, but before constructing these slopes we have to analyze the stability of the slopes. Again, the stability of the slopes depends upon the height of the slope. You can see here, this is height of the slope, and also the water table, at what height the water table is present, and the angle of the slope. Okay, angle of this slope and all these things. Therefore, by doing the soil investigations, we'll find C5 and water table depth and unit weight. Okay, by knowing these parameters we can find at what height the slope is stable. What is a critical height? We'll get critical height. At what critical height we have to provide. After that it fails. Okay, all these things we require soil investigation report. The basement retaining wall of the building. Generally high rise buildings nowadays, they are going these basement retaining wall. This basement retaining wall gives the stiffness to the building one way, and for this, to design this basement retaining wall, we require how much amount of the force, force or pressure is acting on this wall, on this retaining wall, basement retaining wall. For this we require again C5, okay, unit weight and depth of the water table. Okay, then coming to pile foundations, wherever the soil is very loose or the depth of water table is very near to the surface of the soil, then we go for these pile foundations. Okay, for in order to determine the pile load carrying capacity, that is pu, we require again C5 values. Definitely we require this C5 values. Okay, this cohesion or the internal friction can be found out by a laboratory test after collecting the samples from the site. Okay, then coming for you can see here, this is one this is the pile foundation, this is the pile cap, and this is the piles. Okay, how this all this depends upon many other factors. One is the ultimate load capacity of the pile, and also C5 values. The well foundations, these well foundations are used in the rivers, okay, for the abutments or something, for a river, in the rivers. Okay, so in order to know the soil conditions below the surface, definitely we require the water table and C5 values again. Okay, and by knowing this we can decide about how much reinforcement we have to provide, and what is the score depth. Okay, what is the score depth and everything we can find. Okay, therefore site investigations are generally done to obtain the information that is useful for one of more following purposes: to select the type and depth of the foundation. Okay, to select the type and depth of the foundation. Type means whether we go for shallow foundation or deep foundations, or pile foundations or well foundations. Okay, then coming to determine the SBC of the soil, this is very important, and to estimate the settlements of the foundations, then to find the depth of water table and determine its properties, very important, then to find the forces acting on the retaining wall and the abutments. Okay, to ascertain the suitability of soil as a construction materials. Okay, all these are the useful for the following purposes. The site investigations are useful for one purpose or many purposes, but soil investigations are very useful to know the to decide the depth of the foundation, or to find the soil bearing capacity and the settlements of the foundations and everything. Okay, this is very important. In the next module, module 2, I will explain you about how many different type of samples, how we have to take the samples, how many different types of the samples I will discuss in the next module. Okay, thank you for watching this video.